students have to believe in themselves, work hard in order to succeed. Recommendation letters are very important. Among these students, what would differentiate them? So it's the personal statement. So you always have to think of the community at large. Don't just focus on yourself. Your grades, as I said, if you have 3.8 to 4 GPA, you can say things like, I want to help the world become a better place for us to live in.
Hello everyone, this is Wasim Heather. Today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Chake Kouyoumjan, and she worked in Loyola Marymount University for about 30 years and retired as a Vice-Provost for graduate studies. So let's talk to her. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, would you like to tell a little bit about your background to my audience?
Okay, like around 30 years ago, we had experienced 15 years of civil war in Lebanon, and then we couldn't take it any longer. And my family was already in the US, so they were able to sponsor us to come and live in the United States. So of course, coming from a war-torn country, we had experienced hardships, which motivated us more to work harder to succeed in a foreign country where, although, the English was no problem because they went to a school where English was the main language. It was international college in Beirut. But then we came here and we had to adjust to this new country. Luckily, I had my siblings and my mother she was still living. And of course, that gives us some stability, not to be anxious all the time. But when it came to us, we had to work hard. So I had applied to Loyola Marymount University and to USC before they came because, school starts in the fall and they came only on August 4 of that year. So Loyola's letter came to us on a certain date, probably sometime in the middle of August, and then the USC letter came 2 days later, which was a blessing in disguise, although USC had more renowned for higher education, but Loyola being a small school, it was much better for them to adjust. It was a Jesuit school, therefore, they taught a lot of holistic values, and everybody was accepted no matter what ethnic religion they belonged to. And of course, what remained for my children was to work hard to succeed. And then I had to find a job, although I was a homemaker in Beirut. And so I had my bachelor's in chemistry, which I was proud of, but that led me nowhere in finding a job, a good job. So I had to start from scratch. I accepted a part-time position as a library assistant at Loyola Marymount University, where my children decided to enroll after interviewing with the dean. For just after an hour of interview, the dean said, "You're in," the dean of the College of Science Engineering at LMU. So the rest is like history. All they had to do was work hard and believe in themselves. But because they had a good preparation, the high school they came from was international college, and it's affiliated with the United States because their board of trustees is in New York, and it's like an American background. We were used to softball, baseball. These were like nothing foreign to us because their background was in international college. And here, one enrolled in electrical engineering. My younger son enrolled in civil engineering, and they had perfect GPAs for many reasons. First, they came from a good high school. Second, they worked hard. And third, they believed in themselves. So it was like a no-brainer for them to succeed. And then, of course, the financial part was a little challenging, but this Jesuit university offered us more scholarships, which would have been harder to receive at USC, which is on a bigger scale. And then they used to work as TAs or work study students to make some pocket money. And then once they were in their senior year, they applied to many schools for graduate school. My younger son, he was admitted to MIT, and he was the first student from Loyola Marymount University to be admitted to MIT, which means even though Loyola Marymount is not a research institution, it was a regional master's institution, but because they worked hard, they worked well, he had a great resume, he had worked, he had studied, he got admitted. Of course, he excelled at MIT. And my older son, he went to Stanford and he did electrical engineering and he excelled a lot. So basically, students have to believe in themselves, work hard in order to succeed. And then before applying to college, they also need to be ready because they need to write personal statement, they need to have a good GPA, and they need to get great recommendation letters, and most of the time have a test like SAT, ACT. So recommendation letters are very important. When you want to ask your teachers, say for recommendation letter, you need to give them at least 2-3 months notice. You can't go the last week before you want to submit your file and ask for a recommendation letter because the teacher may be busy, he has other things to do. So, and then once you ask for it, say 2 months in advance, you also try to jog their memory in things you have done. That way you help them write a strong recommendation letter for you to succeed. And then your grades. As I said, if you have 3.8 to 4 GPA, you have more chances to be admitted to a good school. But the most important is the personal statement. Because say we have 2 students who have great GPAs, they have great recommendation letters, they have great scores, SAT, ACT, whatever, and there is one spot in a certain class remaining to admit. Among these students, what would differentiate them? So it's the personal statement. It should be engaging.
I see.
It should not be just routine saying, I'm going to do my master's because I want to make more money. That's not engaging. You can say things like, I want to help the world become a better place for us to live in. I want to help the less fortunate who don't have opportunities to go to higher education. So you always have to think of the community at large. Don't just focus on yourself when you're trying to, study and go to higher education.
So you started as a library assistant 30 years ago, and then you retired as a Vice-Provost. So how did you climb those ladders, and what was your, inspiration behind all this?
Yeah, since, we were still settling, we were newcomers, I had to find a job at Loyola Marymount University. Although I had my bachelor's in chemistry, that didn't serve me much because chemistry, you have to be a teacher. To be a teacher, you need to have at least a master's or a PhD. So I said, what do you have? They said, the only job we have that fits your qualifications is a library assistant. I said, okay, I'll get it. I'll prove to them that I can succeed. So you have to have your foot in the door. So this library assistant, I had never worked, so it wasn't hard because it was an easy job, cataloging and that sort of thing. But then after a few months, I started learning computers. But my sons were still in school, so I couldn't do my master's because then it would take too much time from them. I wanted to focus on them. You had to be home, prepare food and all that. So once they were in their junior, senior year, I enrolled in the master's program at Loyola Marymount University, and I did education administration. And so by that time I had learned computers, spreadsheets, I had my degree, I had like experience for 5 years in a university setting. So all this helped me to apply to the job I retired from, which is Vice-Provost. But when I took the job 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was Director of Graduate Admission. But along the years, there was reorganization in academic affairs. So then I became an Associate Dean of Graduate Admission. For many years, I was Associate Dean. I'm still doing the same work, you know,
right.
Whether it's associate. But as an Associate Dean, then you're participating more and with the Associate Dean's Council, you know, then there's more interaction. And then the university started reorganizing itself by creating this provost, vice-provost positions. So my associate dean title was changed to vice-provost, which, you know, I finally retired from. So it was a graduate process, but the most important, I had to work hard and believe in myself, which I did because I came from a family who believed in me. So when the family believes in you, it's not this kind of people, if somebody doesn't believe in you, then you don't believe in yourself. Unless you're very strong, no matter what, you still believe in yourself. So that's how I got to that position. And like the Dean of the School of Education asked me to apply to it. So I applied and I got the job.
I see. So as a woman and as a mother, so how did you inspire your sons, and how did you keep your family life and the, you know, like your work life? How did you create that balance?
Yeah, the fact that we all were at the same university, it helped a lot. We would drive all together in the morning, and then I'll pick them up from their classrooms and we'll go home. So I was a good role model for them because I called myself a re-entry student. I had done my bachelor's in chemistry at AUB several years ago, and I was a homemaker for many years. So then I had to adjust. It wasn't easy for me to work and then to enroll in school, but then they would see that, you know, I'm working so hard. So they were working even harder because they knew there were challenges of paying tuition, you know, all those things. So they have to have good role models in front of them,
right.
Children. And then they imitate, you know. Even the teachers at Loyola Marymount University in their undergraduate studies, sometimes like there would be math Olympics. My two sons would be the only ones who solved the math Olympic problem.
So how did you keep them from distractions? Nowadays, people spend so much time on their cell phones or on the computers. So how did you keep them focused?
Well, our main advantage is that there were no cell phones when we came.
Right.
Neither when they were in college, their bachelor's degree, nor during their master's studies. And by the way, they both did 2 masters. Like my son, my older son, he did electrical engineering at Stanford. Then he came to UCLA Anderson, he did his MBA. My younger son did his civil environmental engineering at MIT Masters. Then he did MBA at NYU.
NYU, okay.
Yeah. My younger son, even he took all the PhD courses, but he never did the research. So he's an ABD, all but dissertation.
Right, right.
So one of them went to Wall Street and he worked in investment because their MBA helped. And my older son, he worked at HP in Fort Collins, Colorado. Then he went to Mountain View, Silicon Valley. And then he started working on his own by developing software.
Okay. If you allow me, I'm going to remodify my last question is, what recommendations you have for this generation who have a lot of distractions such as cell phones and screen time? So how they can stay focused when they have all these distractions?
Yeah, I mean, our advantage was that the distractions were much less in their high school years compared to the US. But here, kids who are in the US, parental presence and guidance is very, very, very important. Because when they see their parents who care, they want them to succeed, then there's a great chance they will succeed. And they have done research. Who are the most successful students in college? It's those who had parents who believed in them and were there for them. I mean, you can't have two parents working and the children come to school and they go to the TV, they go to the video, or these days with the presence of cell phones, that's what they do. So parental presence is very important because there's distractions everywhere, whether you're in high school, you're in college, you're in your post-bac program. But, I mean, basically it's parental presence and guidance. And then that extrinsic motivation, which is the parents are trying to motivate them, it becomes intrinsic. Then they become convinced, yes, this is the right thing for me to succeed. Because especially as minorities, and when I say minorities, you come from the Middle East, you're not the main culture, you need to work much harder than the US citizens to succeed, because this is their country. They take it for granted, but for us, we need to work harder to succeed.
So there are millions of students here in the US, and they come from different cultures, different backgrounds, different countries. And once they get here, they have to learn the language. They are missing their family back home. They have studies which they need to focus on. So what advice you would give them to manage their time and manage their stress?
Yeah, manage their time, like never leave what you can do today till tomorrow. Because as I've always said, time management, it starts, I have read a book which has influenced me a lot, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's Covey, Stephen Covey, the author. It says, like, if you have something important, say it's a test you have to prepare for, and the test is in 2 weeks, and you wait 12, 13 days and you remember, oh, you have a test and you have to prepare. You're trying to cram the last minute, therefore you don't have enough time to prepare, and then something, an unforeseen comes up, you can't even prepare for the test, so you need to prepare way ahead of time to succeed. So basically, you create your own future by working hard. So it's very, very important to be disciplined. Never postpone things. You just, if you have a test, study it now. Even if it's not yet time for that, you can review it the last few days so you're ready, and then you, of course, excel and perform very well. Most of the time, it's about time management. Time management. What you can do now, do it. Don't postpone it. And it always helps to make weekly lists and then cross them out. You list them by degree of importance, priorities. You start working on the most important, second important, and then you see you've taken care of all your list just because you were organized, you were prepared, you were disciplined. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that's very good. I think you have answered it really well. And another question I have is, so most of the time, international students, like boys already kind of know the culture or through movies or some other things. But for most of the girls, they are a little bit more reluctant. They are a little scared when they come to this country as a student.
Yeah.
Whether they come alone or with their husband or the kids, it's different that you are a student and you are a mother at the same time. So what tips or what advice you would give to those young girls who want to have a good family life, but at the same time, they want to study and get a degree?
Well, there are counseling centers at every institution. And usually where I work at Loyola Marymount University, we would send the students to those counseling centers and they would help them to how to manage stress, how to reduce anxiety. We have also the Learning Resource Center where even TAs teach the students who don't perform that well. So you need to have advisory groups and the community, and we have also like the international students, we have Asian Student Services, Middle Eastern, Armenian Student Association. They get together and they encourage each other. They try to celebrate their own culture by saying once a month meeting and preparing their culinary delights. So community always helps you to succeed because you see you're not alone. There are others in the same situation as you, and that motivates you. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're the only one dealing with the problems that you have. Mm-hmm. So the centers in a school, the counseling center, the student associations, all this help. And then faculty have office hours. You need to benefit from those. They're all posted on the faculty's door. See, and go make use of those hours. If there is a concept that you're not understanding well in physics, math, whatever, just go and get help. Faculty are always ready to help students who want to help themselves.
Okay. And my last question is, any piece of advice or tip you would like to give to my students who are young, who are preparing for college, they are preparing for their applications, and they want to be successful? So based on your experience, any tips you would like to give it to them?
As I always say, the main tip is they need to be well prepared by planning ahead of time anything they want to do, believing in yourself, not what we call in education the self-fulfilling prophecy, which means I don't believe in myself, therefore I cannot perform well.
Correct.
That's very bad. So you need to believe in yourself, and it's always great if you have people around you who believe in you. That reinforces the belief in yourself, and work hard. There's nothing beats working hard. Even Einstein, who was this big genius, he said it's 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. Can you imagine somebody, a genius like Einstein, who made that statement?
Correct. Okay. Well, with that being said, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure, Wasim.
Thank you. Good luck with your applications.